I woke up to this. Obviously, as an Al Jazeera employee and as somebody who's vocal on these matters, I got the um, I got the news first. Right, you are working for a terrorist organization. There was a man named Abdallah Al-Jamal. Abdallah Al-Jamal. Abdallah Al-Jamal. He was killed by special forces soldiers because apparently he was holding 3 hostages in his family home. Um, he had Al Mirjan, Andrei Kozlov, and Shlomi Ziv in his home, and so they say they killed him. And before the body could hit the ground, they were saying that he was an employee of Al Jazeera. I literally was getting notes from people saying, I thought you said Al Jazeera wasn't a terrorist organization. One of the employees was killed somebody. One of the employees was a bomber. One of the employees, I mean, they were just going on all these things that were proven false, right? And then they said, yeah, but one of the Al Jazeera employees was absolutely holding a hostage. And then they thought they really got me good. They thought they got me good because then they said, well, we have indisputable proof. We have indisputable proof that he is a terrorist. I'm going to show you. I'm going to pull up something really fast because this is how the media likes to lie and smear. Not just Al Jazeera employees, because that's whatever, right? I mean, I don't think we have like as an Al Jazeera employee myself, I can say, I think we get hit harder than others. But I think all media organizations that tell the truth get hit with this kind of stuff. I'm going to pull up my page just for a second because I got this. I want to show you the kind of taunting that I got hit with. I don't care about the taunting. It's more about the narrative, right? If you look here on my page really quick, I got hit with this, right? Somebody hits me up. Again, yesterday, the news was, whoops. There we go. I got hit with this. Hey, Mark, was this your boy? Did you guys used to have Zoom meetings where you show off the 3 sentences in Arabic that you know? Ever invited to Philly? Your friend and colleague here held Noah Argamani hostage for 8 months. And then they show Abdallah Al-Jamal. And then they show him on the Al Jazeera website, which is the quote-unquote proof, that he is supposedly an Al Jazeera employee. Like, oh my God, we caught you. Oh my God. And I did my own research because, unlike these idiots, I don't wait until there's a Hezbollah report to get my information. Right? I actually do my research differently. And then of course he shows my bio on Al Jazeera's website as more proof, right? Like he has a bio, I have a bio, I work for Al Jazeera, he works for Al Jazeera. That's the logic, right? I'm gonna turn this off now. But what they were missing, which is important, because this what was going around the internet, right? Look, this guy was an Al Jazeera employee. We have proof. And the IDF just said he's an Al Jazeera employee. There was no proof that he was an Al Jazeera employee. They hadn't even gotten to the website yet. They just said it. And it spread like wildfire. All the media outlets, if you look at the Times of Israel, the Jerusalem Post, all these organizations, the New York Post, they all were saying this person is an Al Jazeera employee. Why do they do this? They do this because Al Jazeera, and I work there, so I have to say that just to be transparent. But Al Jazeera has been one of the organizations calling Israel into accountability. That is why they made it illegal for Al Jazeera to be playing there. That is why they tried to arrest an AP, or they took the equipment of an AP employee because they were allegedly broadcasting basically a pool feed to Al Jazeera. This is why they frame Al Jazeera as a terrorist organization, and they frame Al Jazeera as an organization that isn't interested in democracy. That is why so many Al Jazeera employees, including the family of Wael al-Dahduh, have been assaulted or killed even by the Israeli military. The reason is because they don't want anybody to tell the truth about what's happening in this vicious genocidal war. And they know that the way to stop people from telling the truth is to criminalize them, to demonize them, and ultimately to kill them. And so they immediately say, we caught somebody and he's an Al Jazeera employee. So now the world is responding to Al Jazeera having an employee that's not only a part of Hamas, but actively holding innocent Israelis. But the truth is, he wasn't an Al Jazeera employee. I did my own research, did my own homework. I investigated for myself. That image you saw on the website of him, and you saw the image of mine, what's funny is the bio and the image you see of me on the Al Jazeera website, it's been up there long before I worked there. That was up there 5-6 years ago, before I ever had a job at Al Jazeera. You know why? Because I wrote an op-ed for them. And when you write an op-ed, they post your bio. Just an op-ed. If I write an op-ed in the New York Times tomorrow, don't mean I work for the New York Times. If I write a 400-word opinion piece for Vanity Fair, don't mean I work for Vanity Fair. The man wrote one op-ed for Al Jazeera. He is not an employee. He was never an employee. He was never hired by them. He was never contracted by them. He was not an employee of Al Jazeera. But they would love for that to be the story. They would love for that to be the story. Somebody said, "Do you get paid for an op-ed?" It depends on the news outlet. I was not paid for my op-ed with Al Jazeera. I don't know if he was paid for his. I don't believe he was, but I don't know for a fact. I can't say. But being paid for an op-ed doesn't make you an employee of the organization. It's ridiculous. Donald Trump writes, or someone writes it for him. Same thing with Joe Biden. They write op-eds in newspapers all the time. Members of Congress write op-eds in people. You're telling me now that if Donald Trump writes an op-ed in the LA Times, and now the LA Times has employed Donald Trump, and anything Donald Trump does, the LA Times is accountable for because he wrote an op-ed once? I mean, come on, that's stupid. It's a non-story. It's an absolute non-story. The man did not work for Al Jazeera. He was not an Al Jazeera employee at the time or previously. He was never an Al Jazeera employee. He was not an Al Jazeera employee. And the reason why I'm beating that point home is because this was not an innocent mistake. This was not an honest mistake. This was an attempt, once again, to misrepresent Al Jazeera, but more importantly, to control the narrative about the war by controlling the public perception of the critics. We see this happen in the United States all the time. The US does it. Israel's not the only country that does this. All countries like to demonize and criminalize their critics. And Israel's doing the same thing, but we cannot allow that to happen. So when you tell this story, you can say somebody had held hostages. It's true. You can say they held them in their house. That's fine. But don't say that this was some Al Jazeera employee. It's just ridiculous. Y'all, the logic. I know y'all hate when I reply here to trolls, but this is just stupid. If he was a 1099, Al Jazeera would be screaming he ain't an employee. There's no basis for saying that. But even if that were true, then the moment somebody who captures hostages has a 1099 and is an employee there, the moment that happens, you can have a good argument. But it didn't happen. What happened was somebody who doesn't work there was accused of working there. They've never worked there. And you're still trying to make a case that they did. It's stupid. It's absolutely stupid.